Melanoma Matters is an educational resource, and the opinions we express are our own and do not reflect medical advice. If you have questions specific to your own situation, please contact your own clinician. This podcast may be available in both audio and visual, so please check your platform.
Hey everybody, welcome to Melanoma Matters. I'm Sapna Patel.
And I'm James Larkin. Hi.
Today we were thinking of doing our 2024 kind of reflections, and maybe would we call them predictions or, I don't know, hopes for 2025? Certainly we wouldn't call them resolutions, because I don't feel like you and I are resolution makers. How about intentions, or good, we'll call it 2025 intentions. So because it's like a series of just, reflecting and things like that, maybe we won't do as formal a quick fire, but perhaps I could ask you, maybe we should start serious. Professionally, James, did you have any highlights, lowlights, and then something you're looking forward to in 2025?
I'm trying to think of lowlights. I'm not sure I can easily think of lowlights.
That's good.
Yeah, but then probably I'm just the kind of person that just forgets about that stuff quite quickly, deliberately, or whether it's deliberate or not, I don't know. Highlights, professional. So I think that actually the FDA approval of lifileucel is a big thing, and we contributed to the trial, which was February this year. So I think that will be a landmark, actually, as we look back. I hope so, anyway. So that's definitely a highlight. And I think somewhere we speculated on availability of lifileucel here, and you forced me to make some sort of guess, I think. I can't remember. But I think I said May, didn't I? Or did we say Q2? I'm not really sure. This year, 25. We'll see.
We would have to do a fact check inside of a podcast, which I am not equipped to do at this moment. I have no idea.
No, and also I'm not sure we kind of highlighted that in particular. I think it was almost like it was a question in passing. And then the other thing I suppose I have to say is the 10-year data from Checkmate 67, as well as the conversation with Eric Rubin.
Yeah.
When I didn't realise it was Eric Rubin until he told me. So that was not. Yeah, that was great. And Jed said that, Jed Wolchok, in whichever episode when we talked to him. So that's obviously I think a landmark for everybody that was involved in the trial.
Yeah.
And actually, so now today, what is it today? 6th of January, 25. And so the paper's just out in hard copy. So that was great. I don't know. That's enough, isn't it? 2 things. I'm struggling to.
That's pretty great. I think your personality may be like mine, like many others, where you don't tend to dwell on the low moments or the low lights. Although truly, probably life teaches us a lot from those low moments. So professionally, hopefully there wasn't anything terribly major for you, though. Certainly, probably there was. Who knows? I have the same capacity to not remember that, to insulate my brain,
Yeah, so maybe if there's a learning, you think about that at the time.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't dwell on these things afterwards.
I heard somebody, it might be Arthur Brooks, who had a podcast called The Art of Happiness at one point. He might have said keeping a failure journal is actually quite helpful. So in the moment, I know, I think the practice sounds really useful. I can't say that I've done it. Maybe I should plan for it for 2025. But he says, in the moment, jot something down when, it just unsavory happens. Car accident, whatever the issue is that feels like a setback or a disappointment or a failure, write it down and just feel how you feel about it. Write down that I feel disappointed, frustrated, this is going to cost money, time, whatever. Then put a reminder on your calendar to come back to it a month later and see how you feel about it. And probably you still feel the same way because you're still extricating yourself from that event. But then put a reminder on your calendar to look back on it 6 months or 9 months later and see if you feel differently. And perhaps what felt like disappointment may actually turn into something. Which leads me to my professional highlight, which actually is not meant to be a direct takeoff from that story. But, I changed jobs in 2024 and had really, for the first time in a long time, I had been at that previous job since 2008. I moved to Houston. Thought you were showing me something with your Ramones mug there, but no, just the Ramones. Got it. Nice. So I've been at that job for 16 years. Loved it. Had so much of a life in Texas, friends that had become family and so on and so forth. And, was trepidatious about the change, but it turns out it's been an incredible move to Colorado and adjustment. And I've enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed taking on essentially more responsibilities, helping to grow and build something. Anyway, that's probably a professional highlight for me, in addition to, as you say, for the field, what's happened, which is another approval. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing how much melanoma leads the way with first checkpoint, first combination checkpoints, first bispecific, intralesional, like all these incredible things. Now the first solid tumor cellular therapy. So it's been pretty incredible. Lowlights for me professionally. I probably have to really give it some thought. I will say it was really difficult separating from both patients and my partners in Houston. And I feel like there's no great way to do it. I'd consulted so many people. Do you stick around for 3 months or 6 months and do a decrescendo in your practice and your so on and so forth? One colleague who left MD Anderson years earlier said that was a mistake. When that person did it, they thought it was a mistake because turns into an emotional clinic with your nurse and your team every time. They have to tell patients, they're going, oh, when are they going? Oh my goodness. And this and that. So it gets to be too emotionally heightened. By the same token, you want to give people time to adjust. But, a lot of these institutions are the same. You can give a place 6 months notice, 6 weeks notice, or 6 days notice. They're going to prepare at the same time, which is just sort of right when they need to, right in advance of the separation. But that was hard. So that was my professional bit. Anything you'd be willing to share non-work that felt like a high or low?
I know. Listen, before I do that, I actually thought of another professional highlight, which is going to be cheesy, but I'm going to say it anyway, which is actually doing this podcast.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, not just saying that. I mean, it's I don't think either of us have really ever done anything. Well, I mean, we've done the odd podcasts and stuff like that in the past, but this is different from that, isn't it? And that's actually first and foremost been lots of fun, actually.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot as well. And so that I mean, I've been doing this quite a long time now, the whole thing, if you see what I mean, professionally. And that's the real one thing, if you like, that stands out this year, that we started doing this. That's a definite highlight for me.
Well, that's funny, actually. When I was thinking of us, we kept saying it was like the top of my, this has been just such a fun thing that we did. I don't know. It's just something I look forward to. I will say I am doubtful that you've learned a lot doing this. I feel like I've learned loads from you, but anyway.
Oh no, don't be silly. That's no. I mean, and I think it never hurts anyway to go back to some of the literature and stuff, because I think, especially for some of the older stuff, it's I think quite easy to get complacent about it or selectively remember some of the stuff, the bits you kind of like and not the bits that you don't like. And and I think in terms of the field, if you like, so much has changed in the last, say, 10 years, 15 years, that it feels like it's a good time to sort of look back on that. I think where we are now, where we were before, and sort of consolidate that a bit. I was going to ask you another question though, which is that when you're talking about your move, what about doubts? And I mean, again, in as much as you feel comfortable to say, I mean, wouldn't it be normal to have some doubts around moving? And then, yeah, again, I don't want to sort of press you too hard on this. How's that been a part of the last 12 months, let's say?
Yeah, that's a really fair question. You know, I lived it here before 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago. So I knew I had friends here, but all the things go through your mind. Professionally, will I succeed, or have I overinflated my abilities to do well in the job? You know me well enough now to know I don't suffer from low self-esteem, but there's a way that, you know, you can certainly self-doubt, especially when you go from being on a payroll for so long. You know how to do that job so well, and you know how to be a good worker. Do you know how to be a good leader? And we don't know this about ourselves until you kind of step up and do it. There's a quote from Teddy Roosevelt, something akin to let us not sort of judge, be the spectators in the Colosseum judging the gladiators. If we want to have such harsh judgment, let us go in there and put our hat in the ring, essentially, right? Fight to the death, as it were. That is such a bungled quote. So we might have to fact check that. But I guess the point is, easy for me to think that leadership should look like this, or this. Oh, I've had good leaders. I've had not so great leaders. But ultimately, shouldn't I step up and try to be a leader myself and make sure I understand what it takes to do that? So yeah, all of those doubts have gone through my head. So all of that played in. And look, as you say, watch this space, because I'm less than a year in the job. So let's see how I feel in another year or 2 or 3.
So yeah, I've just got a couple of other things. So what's special about New Zealand rabbits? Is that a thing? Are they different from rabbits in other parts of the world? Yeah. So you got a lot of experience of putting rabbits to sleep as well.
Yeah. Lots.
Wow. Presumably they get so big in New Zealand because of kind of lack of predators or something like that. I don't know. Who knows?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I forgot another highlight as well, which I just thought of when you were talking, which is Samra, my colleague Samra Chiralic's grant,
Yes.
which is definitely a highlight for me, because we first met when I supervised or jointly supervised her PhD, which was 2008, 2009, so 15 years ago.
Who did you join supervisor with?
Richard Murray. I've told you that before.
Oh, okay. It wasn't with Martin, but yeah, it was Richard.
Sorry?
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, by the way, this is Martin's Ramones mug. No. But I had my mug, which I was given on my 50th birthday by these guys, the research team, and I'd managed to keep it for over 2.5 years, which is a lot. But I smashed it in clinic last week. It made a real mess. So that happens a lot. So Martin's mug's been up there on the shelf that whole time, and I thought, maybe now's the time to use it. So anyway, sorry?
New year, new mug.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, so Samra got this grant. It's like at least £7 million, multi-institutional, to set up an academic platform to look at multi-omic potential predictors of efficacy of checkpoint inhibitors. A lot of people are doing this stuff, but it's a big national platform, and it's an academic grant. Yeah. So that's fantastic. She worked as ever with Samra. She put together that in addition to her day job. I'm telling the story of COVID. No, what we did during COVID.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it's sort of similar thing. I mean, Samra basically put her whole lab kind of on hold, and we did loads of. Actually, we talked maybe a bit about this with Claire Turnbull, and basically had a massive effort to try and understand COVID better and people with cancer. And there's several high-profile publications. So that's all Samra, though. And again, it was sort of an addition to her day job. She just sort of, did this incredible piece of work during COVID.
Honestly, I think that's so amazing for so many reasons. Just how that's like a national grant, right? Meaning it's not just for your site or sites there in London. It's going to be across. It's like you said, multi-platform omics sequencing. It has some cool name too. I was just trying to find it, but I couldn't find it.
Manifest.
Yeah. Okay. You know. And just that it's, a woman at the helm, like, so like that's amazing. Kudos.
So we're on to personal stuff now, or private, or how would you describe it? The other thing is we never got to say what your favourite Christmas music is, but do you think, we could save that for this year, 2025.
Yeah, you can save it for
something to look forward to.
Yeah, I did think about it. I mean, obviously after I asked you, I thought about it, and I feel like I reaffirmed it this holiday season listening. I had a loaner car I was driving, and it was tuned to the 24/7 holiday song station. So I really got, I know which ones are grating on me, but I know which ones I like. I actually like a religious one is one of my favorite ones.
Oh, really?
Or whatever.
And you're just that's a teaser, is it? Yeah, for December 25.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so what about other stuff then? So highlights and lowlights. I don't know. I'm not really sure as anything I particularly pick out. It's I don't know what to say really. Just the things I think about. This is very trivial, and it's probably something about getting old. But every time I get a PB at the gym now, I'm thinking, wow, great, because there'll be a year that comes where I won't. And so, that's, 24 I did.
Nice.
But it's okay, but it's sort of silly and it's trivial and everything else. But,
I mean, you, me, and Owen and a few others know that PB does not mean peanut butter at the gym.
It can be, PB or PR, personal record. I think sometimes people say personal record more, but personal best is good as well. So that's just a sort of distraction, though. Honestly, I think
that's an insight or a metaphor for life, perhaps, which is every year can have PBs, PRs. They may not be so obvious what they are. They may not be the same as last year. They may not even be something you're good at necessarily. Maybe something you're brand new at doing or never tried before, but in its own way, it can be a personal best.
Yeah, that's a nice point. So is that enough stuff? I think it's about 25 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I did want to ask you just a few things. Did you read anything fantastic this year?
Yeah, apart from Slow Horses, which you know about already. So all the Slow Horses books.
Okay.
And rewatched the TV series. So I've seen that at least twice, maybe 3 times. And I've read quite a few more Jack Reacher books as well. So
good insight. You got me watching that show. Yeah. This is a year where I actually read 3 Daniel Silva books, but it's actually not anything to be that proud of, quote unquote. I finished The New Girl, which I started probably, 5 years ago. So I finally had time to finish that, but it kept meaning I had to go back and reread or start again. I actually think I almost started it from the near beginning. I reread The English Girl just because I had given that to you, and I thought, well, let me reread that and see how that goes. I listened to that on audio, so that's kind of a cheat. But then I'm reading A Death in Cornwall, and I'm almost finished. Also a slow read, but that's probably a banner year. I've never read 3 Daniel Silva books in a year, so that's what I read this year. I also read a book called Platonic that I thought was really nice about friendship and the importance of friendship in our lives. And it's cool. She talks about this like pyramid. We often put romantic relationships. We think of them as like this foundation, and without it, we're not whole. And it's actually quite the opposite. Romantic relationships are like the tip top, but actually it's all those platonic friendships and relationships. And, that's what's foundationally really important. And anyway, it's a lovely lovely book and message. Best movie that you watched this year?
Oh, don't know. You need to go first on that.
Well, it's not because I'm far behind on everything. I'm telling you, I'm reading books that are like 4 years, 6 years from coming out. I finally saw Oppenheimer, which technically was a 2023 movie, but I saw it on a plane ride back. And I thought that was incredible. I then watched it, a few times on repeat at home because I just thought it was incredible.
Yeah, I agree on that. But I think I watched it when it came out, or close to when it came out, because there was that whole thing with Barbie as well.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that before. And
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why there was such a massive fuss about Barbie, and it was kind of getting put next to Oppenheimer.
Do you still feel this way?
Well, I've only watched it once, Barbie. Yeah, it's okay. But I was kind of, I was just waiting the whole time for something really good to happen.
Oh no. It's because you're not a girl dad. That might be part of it. You may need to watch it with a gaggle of women. Take a bunch of your nurses. There is such a message there. You probably focused on Ken and the Casa, what does he call it? The Casa Dojo? Oh gosh, it's so funny in there. He calls it the Super Casa Dojo. I don't know. We'll fact check this, but he calls his house some ridiculous name.
I lost you. You were just saying something Cass or something, and you must have been referring to Ken's kind of house, right, where they were all
Do you
hanging out.
remember
Yeah.
what he called it?
No, but also you froze for that whole section afterwards, so I've got no idea what you said for the last 10 seconds.
Oh, I was just saying it's because you're not a girl dad that movie may not have resonated with you. So maybe you need to just watch it with a bunch of women, a gaggle of women, and get their reaction to just a lot of the things. You may have focused too much on Ken and his Mojo Dojo Casa house and the I mean the male parts of that movie are very, very funny, but they're so comical that because they're painfully reflective of,
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, that it was a little painful. And then my son, Ben, I don't know if I've told you this before, somehow got obsessed with Ken, and he learnt the song, right? The main one, I think there's right?
Yeah.
And then when we were on holiday, actually,
It's Just Me or something like that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, or I'm Ken or something. I don't know what it was called.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a talent contest at this hotel we were staying at. Okay, in the evening, and Ben entered the talent contest. My son, and he just knew the whole thing so well, and he had like the dance, and so there's quite a big stage, and he was on the stage on his own, and that it was pretty good overall, but because he's got Down syndrome, he sings really flat. I think that's like, it's kind of, I think it's a universal. I don't know, because he thinks he's singing fine, but he's singing really, really flat. So he's doing this like amazing kind of like dance routine, and that's great. But the singing, honestly, wasn't quite as good. But anyway,
You can dub that.
Sorry?
You can dub that, and then it's just a great
Yeah,
recording. By the way, it was kind of Ben's incredible year for so many reasons. It sounds
no, that's true, Ben. But yeah, maybe I should have said that Ben's swimming's going really well, and he just had a competition where he basically won every race in November. But he's only been doing it for a year, so he's still in the kind of lower kind of divisions, as it were. Although I found out the other day, in fact, that Ben's time, I think it was for 50 meters freestyle, i.e. front crawl, was the 17th highest male time 1.7 for all adult males with Down syndrome, and Ben's still only 16. Yeah. So he's in the top 20 with a year of training. So hopefully, but he trains hard. He's training 4 or 5 times a week, including doing CrossFit, obviously. Lost you again. I lost you on a really nice smile. I was looking at the Spotify the other day, and one of the recent pictures of you, the still, I don't know if you did this deliberately. Yeah, it's a slightly scary face.
the one with the hats on.
Maybe. I can't
Where
remember which one it was.
I
Yeah,
think
I
I'm
can't remember.
scowling at you or something, but it's just a joke because it's where we were talking. It was where I was talking about something. I was actually saying something, and I couldn't believe I made that face. You just made some horrible face. I was like, oh well, then I just have to catch that, I think.
It's kind of interesting. No, but it's kind of interesting, isn't it, that you can just catch a still of a particular face, and it's like, it's completely unrepresentative of
Mhm.
everything that's kind of happening either side of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, right. So that must be enough by now, no?
Yeah, I think that's good. Why don't we maybe just close by thinking of anything for 2025? Are there any shows, movies, books, gym goals? Mine is to try to deadlift 100 pounds. I'm not there yet. Conferences.
No, I think you can do that already. I think you
Mm-mm,
can.
mm-mm.
What, you know this for certain?
Yeah, so when I'm in the gym, I'm careful. 90 would be the one where I can pull maybe one or two. I don't have a belt, and so like I'm very careful not to injure. So 70 I can do, 80 I can do. 90 I'll probably just get too much in my head about it, and I'll usually just do one. Maybe I'll do a second, but then I'm a little nervous. My lower back is gonna give. So maybe if I got a belt, I would be safer. I'm close. No, would not be safer.
No, don't get a belt. No, I
Okay.
mean, I don't. Some people do deadlift with belts. I mean, professionals obviously do, but I've never done that because the risk with using a belt is you sort of rely on the belt for certain aspects of the
That's
lift,
right.
and you go beyond what say is safe weight for you.
Yeah.
And there's like considerable. I mean, I've certainly injured myself loads from deadlifting. Can you hear that background noise? Do you know what that is actually? So you wouldn't have seen this, but the corridor outside was decorated by Kemmer, who's
Uh,
one of the yeah, exactly, the research practitioners in our team. So Kemmer spent loads of effort like wrapping up the front of the doors, all at this end of the corridor, and then they have a hospital best decorated
yeah.
department award every year. We won. We
Oh,
just
you
found
did
out
it?
yeah, second year running.
What was
So
your door?
well, it's wrapping paper. I mean, it
No, it
wasn't
wasn't.
anything.
In Houston, it used to be get super nerdy. Like it was the microbiome door that won one
No,
year.
no, 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 no. This was just a sort of
Holiday.
generic Christmas thing, basically. Yeah, so we won. So that's
And
good. So that's something for 25 because we're on a hat trick now. So
yeah,
if
yeah,
we
yeah.
win this year, three in a row. Sorry,
By
you're
the
going to
way,
say?
you were pretty judgmental about Christmas decorations going up before December. You were pretty judgy about them being up already at the end of November. I'm going to leave my tree up at least another week into the weekend. Why are you so aggressive about taking down things so quickly?
Well, some of it's practical weekend, so time to do it the weekend, and some of it's weather, honestly, as well. So we had lights outside the house and my illuminated deer with the fawn. Okay, and so you don't really want to be putting that away when there's a storm or it's raining or something. And then so this is all very boring, but the weather was Saturday. The weather was good, so then I got the ladder out and then I took it all down. But I could have gambled and waited till next weekend, but then
And
it's just pragmatism.
you don't have any additional bank holidays in January. We have
No,
Martin Luther King holiday. That's usually when I reserve my. I see.
no, we are now done until Easter, which is the middle of April on
You
bank
don't have like a
holidays.
school holiday between now and Easter?
There is a school holiday end of February, but there's no bank holidays there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah,
Cool. Okay. Yeah. What about anything 2025 you're into?
don't know. I mean, it'll be the same answer anyway, which is that I hope lifileucel, this is professional, obviously, gets approved and gets reimbursed in this country in 2025. And in many ways, that's by far the biggest thing that I can really think about. There's loads of other stuff going on, but that's going to be really important actually for us here. So that's my one answer. What about you?
I hadn't thought professionally. I should probably do that and think about intentions for 2025. I'll get there. I want to read the Malcolm Gladwell book, Revenge at the Tipping Point. I want to read the new Yuval Harari. I actually have them both. I just will get around to it when I get around to it. I want to watch that movie, The Substance, which is about aging. And then I just want to, I want to be present and set personal bests. I like the idea that each day can be better than the previous, or you walk into each day with more knowledge than you had the previous day, which can only be an asset. So I like that mentality. And then I was thinking of any conferences I was looking forward to. I'm looking forward to ASCO this year for reasons that you know. I mean, not professional. And there is a conference in Sweden that I'm looking forward to. Our dear colleague has invited me to, and loads of other good ones. There's a conference in Essen. It should be fun. ESMO will be in Berlin. Should be a lot of good things, yeah. Any gym goals for you? Just more PRs?
Yeah, I've got loads of goals, but they're boring and they're probably mainly unattainable, actually. Not getting injured, definitely the
big one.
Yeah, definitely the biggest one of all. But I mean, other than that, I think you have to take it a little bit sort of as it comes. See how you're feeling, which is a very boring answer, but it's true.
I do have a goal for our podcast here. I would love to see us get 100 episodes, which I think is doable. We did almost 60 in the first 6 months with our schedule. So I think if we get to 100, I would love that. 100 additional episodes. And then more guests, more fun guests.
That's good.
Yeah.
100 more episodes this year.
We can do it.
Can we? No pressure.
Well, there should be a little pressure. We, as our friends.
That was irony, by the way, but carry on.
Understood. Discipline and having maybe a set, publication schedule. Maybe that's a good goal for us. Maybe we'll get a little more regular with like the days that we're putting this out there. We've had some big gaps, but we're learning. We're all self-producing this stuff. So.
No, well, you're self-producing actually, if we're completely honest. Good. All right. Yeah.
What? Cheers to 2025. Oh, I wanted to actually read something in closing because I found a lovely little poem that I thought was really reflective. So let me pull it up. Okay, here it is. Song lyrics, but I should probably try to read. I mean, I'm not going to sing it. All right.
More Taylor Swift?
No. Don't be so offended by Taylor Swift. All right. It's been one hell of a 365. Can you believe that we made it? We hit rock bottom and mountaintop highs. Trophies and scars, they all faded. I did some things that I want to take back. Isn't that just the way it goes? Said goodbye to a friend and we cried till we laughed at a bar in the town we call home. Happy New Year, everyone. May it be filled with peace and love. We'll say goodbye to the old and hello to the new. I'm just so grateful for you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. All right. That's it. That's a wrap.
Yeah, I'll see if I can trim it. Hi, everybody. Fact check for our kind of reflections on 2024 and intentions for 2025 episode. I had messed up and really kind of jumbled a Teddy Roosevelt quote there. We were chatting about being brave and, taking chances and things like that. So I found the quote, and it's from I'm not sure if I know where he gave this speech, but basically, here's the quote. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again. Because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. I meant to say neither, but I said neither. All right, that was so close.
Yeah,
It's good.
lovely. Yeah, it's nice. Great. So what else do we need to do? Well, one thing I was going to say one thing that we absolutely should have done and didn't when we were talking about 2024 was to mention Jeff Webber and his loss in August, which we talked about before. We were lucky enough to have him with us as a guest, our first guest, and he's been an incredible loss to us, I think, personally, because we both knew him pretty well, and also to the field. So that was a significant omission. And actually, I was just going to say, we haven't talked about this, Sapna, that I don't know if you read the...
I did. I was going to say I saw that in the publication.
Yeah, so I'm glad. Yeah, we didn't even prepare that. But when do you know what? When the paper copy of the first edition of 2025 of NEJM came, and I saw the Checkmate Checkmate 67 10 years, the first thing I did was I made sure that the dedication to Jeff was there, and and it was, and you read it as well. So I'm really pleased about that. And thank you NEJM for letting us do that as well, actually.
Well, then I'm going to say kudos to you guys, because obviously that was a sponsored study. The impression could have been that it was coming from the company that wanted to put in that dedication. It's even more lovely to know that it came from you guys, from you. And you're right, we didn't plan this. I actually was going to say that I saw it. If people haven't seen it, there's a lovely, kind dedication to him in the bathroom. But of course, he's not the only person we lost this year. But for us, we knew him quite well, and um, it just felt hard for a lot of us. There were a couple of other people. There were many. I mean, we don't know everybody that we lost this year, but just some of the other people. Our colleagues at Thomas Jefferson lost both a surgeon and a medical oncologist, Adam Berger and Michael Mastrangelo, both crucial in the oncology space. So that was our hearts are really with them having to deal with that in this new year. And then at MD Anderson, we lost just a great friend, legend, Michael Frumovitz, also from pancreas cancer, sadly. He's a gynecologic oncologist. And so we shared lots of mucosal melanoma patients. He was a great colleague, a great friend. I remember when he sent the email about his diagnosis a year earlier, it started with, "Dear friends, you might want to sit down as you read this." And I was still standing, but I barely got to the second sentence. And then I did realize I had to brace myself and sit down. And then unfortunately he died. And, James, when I was in Houston for SITC, I was staying at the house of, it's a former patient, whom we lost, but their family. I was staying with them. And Michael Frumovitz was the high school teacher to the kids. Even though, Frumovitz was only in his late 40s, early 50s, before he went to medical school, he was a teacher. So he taught those kids, might have been high school, of this family who, ended up going on to have melanoma, and the patriarch was our patient. And so that loss is felt like even bigger, right? Not just in the medical community, but all these kids that he ended up teaching, all these families he was a part of. And we have an MD Anderson conference next week in Steamboat, and there's going to be an inaugural lecture in his honor there. So anyway, ironic that it's on today of all days that we're talking about this, I realize. And then there was something else I think we were going to talk about. Oh, we just wanted to also, we realized as we were reflecting on our 2024 and start of this podcast, by the way, we'll get better at this. We obviously don't script this thing. We forgot to just acknowledge our guests that we had on. We sort of said it, we want to have more guests in the new year, but we forgot to actually call up the people that we did have. I can read off the list, or you can read off, or we can just remember the name.
You do it. But before you do, why would we want to kind of script it? That would be boring. It's much more fun not to.
No,
Go on.
I mean, I'm not sure how easy this is to listen to for people. It's certainly easier for us just to be off the cuff like this. But as you mentioned, Jeff was our first guest. We did it pretty straight after ASCO, and he gave us his highlights. And that was, fortunately for me, not the last time I saw him in person. Wait, that was the last time I saw him in person. I had many a call with him after that and Zoom calls and so forth, but now I'm realizing that actually was the last time I saw him. So, yeah, pity. After Jeff, we had Christian Blank on to talk about Medina. We had Jed Wolchak to talk about your Checkmate 6-7 10-year final work. Bettina Ryle was on talking about Melanoma Patient Network Europe and just, her role in this space. Allison Betoff Warner, Exercise Oncology, which was very cool. It's one of our most popular episodes as I go back and see the numbers. Checkmate 067 is by far the number one.
Didn't we talk about TILs a
Go
bit
on.
as well there? I mean, I realised quite a fair amount of it was about exercise oncology, but I think we talked about TILs a bit as well. Fairness to Alison.
Yeah, that's probably right. I hope I titled that episode correctly then, because I just titled it Exercise Oncology, I think.
And TILs. No, it says TILs.
Okay.
I'm certain.
Okay.
I'm certain.
You're right. We did talk about it because she had that oral presentation at SMR showcasing that work. We talked to Tony Rebus, which was great fun for us to do. We had lots of fire engine noise in the background for that one because we were live on the streets of Chicago. And then Mark Berries, and Mark was a great time too. He had great quips from Don Morton and stories about Myron Thomas, etc. So that was a good one. And it sounds like that episode's been really well received by some surgical colleagues in the field too, which is great. But
Yeah.
we did. So great. Thank you to all of our guests. A shout out to them. At some point, we will get our act together and potentially send them a nice little thank you card or gift or something like that. I feel like we've been talking about this for a minute. Life has just gotten away. But thanks to our 2024 guests, and thank you in advance for our 2025 guests.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
Don't think so.
Cheers. I'll stop it.
Cheers.